We're live. All right.
20 days, call this number back. I need $25 for this walk around sit down chair.
Productions. Been around the block. Been around the block.
Welcome to Been Around the Block, episode 21. Sorry for the late arrival, folks. We're having some technical difficulties on all of our ends. Anyways, welcome to episode 21 featuring Megan. I'm Brooks. We got Chris Ross, Bradley Nemo Sparks, and then Megan. So glad to have you guys joining us right now.
You
How's
said
everybody doing
Megan
tonight?
twice.
Megan.
Because I'm important.
I'm like,
Come on right now. How's everybody doing tonight?
good.
Everybody good? Good. Yeah.
I'm
great.
good.
Fantastic.
All
I'm
right,
great.
cool. You're great. All right. Well, so yeah, like I said, sorry folks for being a little bit late. I had some technical difficulties. Nemo had some technical difficulties. Chris didn't. Megan didn't. But we're here. So let's just get started. So Megan, how
What? You cut out.
long you got sober?
Well, I'll have 3 days or 3 years and 9 days, but no
3
fronts, right?
days.
So I have 3 days sober. 3 years, almost 3 years.
Oh yeah. So what's your sobriety date?
8, 12, 21.
All right. That's what's up. So I know that me and Chris both have sober birthdays coming up, so that's a big deal.
Well,
So-
Nemo has a real birthday coming up.
I'm gonna throw this fucking laptop. You can X that out. Okay.
Anyways, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do with your life nowadays, Megan? I've known you since I've been sober. We both went to Save Rehab facility and everything. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your story. I mean, like I said, we're gonna keep it kind of open conversation and everything, but tell us about you.
Okay. So what? Well, since I've gotten sober, I work in mental health recovery and substance abuse recovery, and I'm also in school to be an addiction counselor. Right now, I'm going to go further with that, but as of right now, that's my focus. I raised 3 kids all by myself, and I'm just trying to be a better person every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you said, like, when we were talking before we went live, you said you're PRSS certified, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that. I got my PRSS in March, I think, which I've been trying to do that since I got sober, but never did it. But now I work at Hope Community Services. I help people find jobs and go back to school that are in recovery right now. And then I'm hoping I soon will be moving to addiction services. Hopefully, that's the plan.
So I know that we also worked at the same company for a little bit. Have you been in basically in the recovery environment since you've been sober after that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I worked at Hobby Lobby for like 8 months. Not fun.
Okay.
I didn't like that. But ever since then, I started working at Griffin Memorial Hospital in the inpatient psych ward.
Okay.
And that was interesting to say the least. And I just got sick of getting beat up every day, even though I loved helping people, but it gets violent. So I switched over to the outpatient part of it. I like that better.
All right, cool. And didn't you say, Chris, didn't you just get your PRSS?
I got my PRSS last month, and ever since then I started teaching. Oh, not teaching. Doing groups, and that stuff is it's pretty fun.
All right. Well, that's cool. So, and you plan, so break it down a little bit more, Megan. What'd you say you plan on doing after you're going back to college? What are you studying right now?
Addiction counseling, addiction services, like addiction counseling. But that's just for my associates. After that, it's an applied science degree and associates. But I want to go further than that. After that, I'm not really sure how far I want to go with it. But as of right now, I just want to help people. That's it. I want to help people get better, you know?
Okay. Well, so tell us a little bit. Well, like, is this your first time getting sober?
Okay, so let's start. Here we start. So, okay, I started doing, I started doing drugs and well, I started drinking when I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. I started drinking when I was like 12. Some people don't really know that, but, and that was all it was for a long time. It was just drinking. And I had, you know what? Let me start over. I had a really stable childhood. Like, my parents are still married. I think they've been married 48 years or something like that. My parents were very involved in the church. I was very involved in a church. I was raised Pentecostal. So like skirts to my ankles and hair to we didn't cut our hair, wear makeup or jewelry or all the things that I love now. Right. And so I have been rebellious by nature my entire life. I didn't realize what that meant until I got sober, but been rebellious by nature my entire life. So I would like hide pants in the closet just so I could like go be different than everybody, because I didn't want to wear skirts to school, right? And I didn't, but nobody ever knew any of that stuff. I just like kept it real secret. I was the good girl in front of who I needed. I was a chameleon. I could be whoever I needed to be. And I've been like that my whole life. And like I was in the youth group and I was in the youth choir singing on the stage and getting drunk. Again, I'm sorry, Mom, getting drunk behind the church when I was done. You know what I mean? And nobody ever knew any of that until I was like 16 and I had a really bad car accident. And a friend of mine was killed in that car accident. And that kind of sent me off into the deep end. Yeah, it was a huge shock. It was my sister's best friend. We were all very close. I was 16 years old. I didn't even have my driver's license yet. And we were driving to Tulsa to go see our boyfriends. And I ended up flipping her car. And she ended up dying from that. And I've had guilt from that. I still deal with that on not on a daily basis, but I still have trouble with that. And that's probably what kind of sent me into the darkness, I guess, is what I would like to, what I call it. But it sent me into like trying to figure out how to cope with feelings that I didn't understand yet. And for me, that was drinking, right? I'd already been kind of drinking, but at that point I was like, I know how to feel better, right? I can just go get, at that time, a bottle of Boone's Farm would do it for me when I was 16. You know what I mean? Strawberry Boone's Farm. And I was puking out my friend's bedroom window trying to hit on boys. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid things. And that went on until I was 22. All I was doing was drinking. And it got worse, vodka and whiskey and all the things. And then I met, hold on. I have kids. I met a boy who was to become my first husband, and he did drugs, but I didn't do drugs, right? I was against all of that. But we were married for about a year, and on my 22nd birthday, the day of my 22nd birthday, he brought a bag of meth home. And he was one of those guys that would like get his paycheck and he would go get a bag of drugs and he would be gone. And so in my head, I was like, if I do this with him, he won't leave, right? He'll stay here with me and we can just do the drugs together, which is not how that works, by the way. He still would leave and go get high other places. But I had found the thing, you know what I mean? I figured out how I could like drink the way I wanted to drink and not pass out, not black out. I could do meth, right? Just do meth. And I thought I had found like the perfect elixir to all the things that I needed. And I kept it, and I held it together. I had a really good job at Norman Regional Hospital and I was getting high and I was drinking. And all of that, like, it was fine for the first like 4 years. It was great until 2 years, until I caught my first felony. And I caught my first felony because we had started smoking crack and decided that stuff from people's garages was the great way to fund that habit, right? So why not? It was great. It worked for a really long time. So we would steal people's golf clubs Because there was a lot of money in that.
Yeah, there's some money in that. Yeah.
There was. Listen, so I got arrested because my ex-husband, my first husband, had rented a U-Haul because we were moving out of our house in my name, and he took that U-Haul and went and stole a bag of golf clubs from somebody's garage and a U-Haul that was in my name. And so the neighbors saw it. They came and arrested all of us, and the cops are starting to call me. They called me Ping. That was my nickname. Every time I got arrested from that moment on, they called me Ping because that was the kind of golf clubs that I stole or that I got caught with.
Fuck yeah.
So, fuck yeah, right? Anyway, I caught my first felony. And I also had a really bad habit of not going to court ever. So
Yeah.
on that first felony, I got arrested probably 6 times until I caught the next one, which was from another boy. Me and that husband broke up. Fast forward. All my felonies, I would like to say this right now. All of my felonies are because of the whatever dude I was with. I'm not saying I didn't do anything. I definitely did all the things, but like,
Okay.
we only got caught because they were stupid. You know what I mean? Anyway.
So, question: Did you grow up around Oklahoma City or
I grew up in Moore.
more? Okay.
I grew up in Moore. Started doing drugs in Norman, and then moved that career to the South Side.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's South Side's where you sell meth at, right? I don't know. That's how it was for me. Me and the first husband broke up. I ended up losing my job and like all the things, but that was fine. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have anything at the time. I was just young and had found what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And if you asked me at that point in my life what my plans were, like my plans were just to do drugs and drink until the day I died. Like I had no other, why not? It was living my best life. You know what I mean?
And how old were you then?
At this point, I'm like 24, 25 by the time me and the first husband split up and I start absolutely wilding out. And I did that until I turned 28. And I would love to say that like my first kid is what calmed me down, but it wasn't. I drugged that poor baby to trap houses and dope houses and hotel rooms and sketchy situations. I did some really shady things with her until she was about 6 months old. And then I decided that I didn't want to live like that in front of her anymore. And so I got clean, but I didn't know anything about recovery. I didn't know anything about AA or any of the 12-step programs. I didn't know anything about any of recovery, period. Right. And, but I just decided to be clean, but I never was sober. Like I still drank every single day of my life. And I was with the man that my kid, I was with my kid's father at this point. And he had gotten out of prison and he was trying to be sober too, but we didn't know anything about anything. We were just not going to do meth anymore. Right. So we ended up drinking heavily every single day for about 6 years. And honestly, like I thought that I was better. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not touching meth anymore. I have my shit together. We had built a $1 million business, heat and air business. We had land out in the country. We had a house. We had cars. We had ATVs. We had all the things that we ever wanted. Right. And I had my oldest and I had just had a new baby and life was great until we were at a 4th of July party and somebody had a bag of meth and we were like, we can get high one time. Right. Just one time, one weekend. It'll be fine. And we lost within 8 months, we lost every single thing that we had. We lost our land. We lost our house. We had to move back to the country or back to the city. We lost all the cool shit that we had built up. We lost the business. Him and his business partner had parted ways. You know what I mean? That's his story. So I'll let him someday maybe tell that. But we lost everything and we moved back here and just kind of like decided that we were going to do the only thing we knew how to do to support our family. You know what I mean? Because you can rationalize anything when you want to start doing bad things, right? You can like, oh, I need to do this so I can feed my family, when really we could have just probably gotten jobs instead of gotten a big bag of drugs. So we supported ourselves like that for a very long time, for like almost 3 years. And like the details of those 3 years are crazy. Like I went from having a fairy tale life. This is gonna make me cry. I went from having a fairy tale life to being in the darkest place I'd ever been in my life. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't figure out how it had gone so downhill so quickly. And I was losing my husband. I thought I was holding it together. I was so delusional that I thought I would be a good mom. When you can't be a good mom when you're high, you know what I mean? But I thought I was. I thought I was a good mom up until a year ago. I was like, I never neglected my kids, but I did, you know what I mean? But so within the 3 years, we had gone from just like trying to support ourselves to doing things completely out of control. And I got pregnant with my last baby. I was about 7 months pregnant when I woke up to the police trying to beat down my door, and there was 50 cops outside my house, and the ATF, and everybody I could, FBI was in my house. Like I just couldn't figure out what had happened. And they raided my house. They raided my home, completely tore my home apart, took my husband to jail, and then 24 hours later came back and took my kids from me. And I just remember begging them in my driveway, like, please don't take my babies. You know what I mean? I'll straighten up. I'll do everything I'm supposed to do. Just don't take my kids. But they had no choice. You know what I mean? And I know that now. I had the biggest resentment to DHS and to the police because it was their fault. They came and took my babies. They came and did this stuff to me. They did all this stuff when in reality, it wasn't them. They were doing their jobs. You know what I mean? It was me. I did all this stuff. I fucked up. I traumatized my kids. I did all this. And then, so I kind of went off the deep end mentally. I got clean at that point because all eyes were on me. Right. And I was 7 months pregnant and I wasn't clean. And I hate admitting that part of my story, but here we are. So, I got clean at that point, but it was a little too late. I had the baby. I went into labor about a month early and had the baby. They took her from me in the hospital and then, sent me home empty-handed, completely silent, dark house with nobody here. And I completely, like, I walked in my house and completely lost my mind. And, like, there's no pain like that. You know what I mean? But it wasn't enough to get me clean because the only way that I knew how to deal with any of that was to get high. It was to go get a bottle of vodka. It was to like numb that. Your solution? Somehow. It wasn't. Yeah, my solution was to not feel that anymore. And the only way I knew how to do that was to put a needle in my arm. And so that's what I did. And that I still live in delusion, but I lived in an absolute complete delusion back then. Like I thought I'm only going to do this tonight. You know what I mean? And tomorrow I'll get my shit together. Or I'm just going to drink this bottle of vodka tonight. And tomorrow I'll do the work I'm supposed to do. And I'll go to court and I'll take all the drug tests and I'll do all the things I need to do to get my kids back. But I never did that. You know what I mean? Because the next morning would come and I would do it all over again. And I would do it all over again. And finally it got to the point that every time that I would wake up, I would cry because I had lost everything. Right. And so my solution for that was just don't go to sleep. Right. Yeah. If you just don't go to sleep, you'll be fine. And so that went on. That I would stay up for months, for like a month. 30 days was the longest time I had ever stayed up, and I was completely out of my mind. And still trying to see my kids. And by that point, my parents were like, because my parents took my two older ones, and my sister took my baby, and I was still seeing them almost every night. I would go and check them in, and I would do all the things. But by the end, my parents were like, "Listen, you're fucked up." You know what I mean? Like you get your shit together. But they would never keep me from seeing my kids. It was finally DHS that was like, she's not getting any better. She's failing her drug test. I would have to take these drug tests, these hair follicles. I would go to court. But the night before, I would spend the entire night before bleaching my hair because I thought that would fix the hair follicle situation. had fried my hair to like, my hair was like this short. I had the side shaved. It was like white and like felt like cotton balls. It was terrible because it was easier just to dye my hair than to get clean. You know what I mean? The insanity that we think like this would be easier.
Yeah.
Or I would, there would be ways to like fake, to like pass a pee test. You know what I mean? And I would like I would poison
familiar with
myself
those.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would poison myself just to be able to like pass this test when all I had to do was just stop doing drugs. You know what I mean? But
I just want
it.
background. Probably burn your house down. The kids in the background. I love that we can hear that right now while you're telling the story. That's a powerful testament to your recovery, you know. And it's
Can
really
you hear?
amazing.
Can you hear my baby crying and my wife cussing in the background? Did you hear that?
I couldn't hear.
That's why I was trying to hold from laughing because I didn't want to like look like an asshole when she's telling the story. But I'm like,
What the fuck?
yeah, every man. All right. So how
So
old
tell
are
me
you
some
at
of
this
the-
time? I'm trying to follow a timeline, like, and what.
Okay, this timeline at this point, I'm probably this is pretty close to me going to rehab. So this was probably like May of 21. You know what I mean? Somewhere around there. Because that's when I started like people started like really I thought I was faking everybody out, and they made me believe I was faking everybody out. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'd go to my parents' house, I'm like, I'm clean, I'm sober, I'm fine, I'll eat this meal. You know what I mean? I wasn't any of those things at all.
So you
like
had never tried
yeah.
you had never tried recovery before this?
No.
Like you never
No.
tried treatment or anything? Okay.
No, I didn't know anything about any of that. Like I'd heard people go to rehab, but like that wasn't for me. I wasn't a drug addict. Like I just needed to not do drugs for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't need
Yeah.
rehab. And if I was and if I was going to go to rehab, I was going to go out to California to one of those like fancy ones with the pool and stuff. Like that's what I wanted. If I was going to do it, I was going to have a vacation. But that was just so out of reach to me. I just like didn't, that was just never an option in my head. I never thought of all people that I would need to go rehab. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't. Hi. I'm on the thing. Shh. Huh? What?
I cut my finger with the fan.
You hit your finger with the fan? Are you okay?
I stuck my finger on there.
Sorry. What was I saying? I got distracted.
Oh, good. You're talking about. I'm having a brain fart myself.
Wow.
You're talking about California rehab.
Oh, I wanted to go to California. Like I had thought about going to rehab,
Yeah.
but I just didn't. It was just like a dream. Like it was just like, I'm not gonna go. And what had really kind of like stuck it out for me was that I had a friend that I got high with on a daily basis that had decided to go to rehab, and I was like, we're just quitters now. We're just gonna go to rehab. Like that just was so foreign to me. But she ended up going to Texas to go to rehab, and I was like, I mean, if she can do it, I can do it, right? But it was just still like such a far thought in my brain. One, because I didn't want to admit, even though everybody around me knew, right? Everybody around me knew that I was doing all these things, but I, in my head, could not admit to these people that I needed help because I thought that I can convince them that I was clean. You know what I mean? So how was I going to come out and tell them I need treatment? I need to go. I need help. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like it was going to be an option because of all the things that were breathing down my back. Like DHS was on my back, and I was trying to convince them that I was clean, and court was on my back. And I thought I had all these people fooled, so I had to like keep up the charade. I thought, you know, until and I had gotten to the point I was the one selling the drugs. Like I was the one with the bag. I was the one that was like controlling all this stuff around me, right? And I had people that were buying drugs from me telling me that they were worried about me. Like, hey, reel it in a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm like, y'all are crazy. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Until so it like fast forward to August. It's August. And I'm seriously thinking about rehab, right? I'm like on my phone, like looking up rehabs in the area, trying to figure out what I want to do. And I come across something called it wasn't Pathways at the time, but it was Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it was. It was I was chatting with some, like, I don't know if it was a bot. I don't know what it was. I was chatting with somebody online and I got this phone number. Here's a number to this local person that can help you, right? And I start texting this local person. Had never talked to him. But I'm texting him like, hey, I'm kind of interested in going to rehab. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? This dude calls me. This dude with this Boston accent that I thought was like, he sounds harsh and rude and on the phone, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know about this guy. But I'm like texting him for like 2 weeks. I'm like bullshitting. I'm playing around with it. Like I'll text him and then I'll go get high. And then like a few days later, I'll text him and then I'll go get high. Well, so that went on for about 2 weeks. And my DHS worker calls me and she's like, hey, you have court in 2 days. We're going to move to terminate your rights completely to your kids, right? And the only thing that saved me from having my rights terminated way before that was COVID. COVID hit at the same time that my kids had been taken from me. Had that not happened, I would have lost custody and my rights would have been terminated a year before this happened because I'm like 18 months into this DHS case, right? But because like court dates kept getting put off like 4 months and 4 months here and 4 months there, the only thing that saved us was COVID. So thank God for that, I guess. I don't know. But so my DHS worker calls me and she's like, you have court in 2 days. We're going to move to terminate your rights completely. You've done nothing to move this case along in your favor, right? And so I'm like, I fucked up at this point. My kids are going to hate me. They're probably better off without me. You know what I mean? All I've done is fuck up. I can't get better. I can't fucking fix any of this. So that night I had decided that I was just going to like end it. You know what I mean? I was like, they're better off without me. All my kids are in really good homes. They're taken care of. All I've done is fuck up their lives and traumatize them. And so I loaded up a shot of heroin. I didn't do heroin at the time. I loaded up a shot of heroin and I was just going to like, there was probably 5 people in my living room of my house. I didn't tell any of them anything. I was just done. I was so tired and like didn't know what to do next. And so I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to not be here anymore. You know what I mean? I'll take care of it. I'll take care of the situation myself and make it better for everybody. I thought, you know what I mean? Like my kids would be better off without me. And so that's what I did. I went into my bathroom and I'm sitting in the bathroom in the same house that I live in now, in the same house I bathed my kid in right now. Sat against the bathroom tub and I was fixing to end it all. And my now 10-year-old, my middle kid, called me and she was like, hey, I just wanted to hear your voice one more time before I went to bed. And like,
Man.
like right when I was fixing to do that, you know what I mean? And so,
and if that's
had it been 30 seconds later, she would have never heard my voice again. And so, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, baby, I love you. And I got off the phone and I walked out of my bathroom and I was like, I can't do that to them. You know what I mean? Even though I think that I've fucked them up and I've traumatized them badly, but I can't imagine what that would do to them. You know what I mean? And so I decided that's not how I was like, that must've been some sort of intervention. I didn't know at the time what divine whatever was, you know what I mean? I was just like, I just wanted to live for my kid at that point. And, I get the phone at like 2:00 that night, at 2:00 in the morning that morning. And I start texting this guy with the Boston accent. And I'm like, hey, I need help. I need something. Then I'm like frantically, mind you, I'm super duper high and probably been up for about a week. And I'm like frantically texting this guy. And I'm like, I need help. Answer me. It's 2:00 in the morning and this guy is sober. Right. So it gets to be about 6:00 the next day. And he calls me and he's like, how high are you? And I was so offended by that. And he didn't say anything mean, you know what I mean? But I was so offended because I had a chip on my shoulder and fuck you. I cussed him out. I was like, fuck you. I'm not going to go to rehab. I'll figure this out on my own. And he called me like 10 times that day trying to get me to come to rehab. And I ended up deciding to go somewhere else. Checked myself into rehab that night. Super drunk, super high. I was about a week into that to rehab. And this guy brings in a meeting to that rehab, and he's introduced
You
himself.
can say his name. We all know who you're talking.
I can say his name. So he's like, He stands and he walks up to me. He has no idea who I am. He walks up to me, puts his hand out, and he's like, I'm Drew. I'm Drew. Nice to meet you. And I was like, oh my God. I
just
didn't tell
cussed
him
you
who I was.
out.
I was like, yeah, I was like, oh. But I could tell I knew his voice because he had that stupid accent. Like,
Okie East Coast. It's the weirdest accent. Yeah.
yeah, it's the weirdest accent. But I was just like, oh God. Hi, I'm Megan. And I didn't know if he knew who I was. I meet him a couple times since then. And we're at like IOP. I go through rehab. I do all the things. Oh, let me go back to rehab. Okay, so I check in myself to rehab, right? And I'm like, I'm only going to rehab to get my kids back at this point. Like, I had no intention on staying sober once I got my kids back. None. Like, I was going to do what I had to do to appease DHS. And then I might not go back and do all the drugs, but I was definitely going to go buy a bottle. You know what I mean? Because who doesn't live without alcohol? That whole, there's people out here that don't drink, blows my mind. It still kind of blows my mind that there's people that don't drink. You know what I mean? That aren't like us. It's foreign to me. But so I check myself in rehab. I'm only going to get sober to get those kids back. And once the kids get back, I'm going to go back out and party. And I'm in there about 3 weeks. And finally one of the workers comes up and he's like, hey, the light came on. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, the light, you have light in your eyes now. And that's when I finally realized, I was like, oh, I'm not as angry as I was 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? I don't want to fight everybody that's in this rehab with me. Like, Brooks is the nicest guy in the world, right? But he walked into rehab and I was like, this dude with a stupid guitar, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want
That's fair.
I didn't want to be around anybody. And
I
he's
get
just
that a
sitting in
lot.
the classes, like, with his little guitar singing and shit, like, out in the courtyard. I'm like, oh, this guy's so fucking annoying. But after a while, I was like, hey, will you play a song? You know what I mean? Like, I got a little bit soft. I'm not soft at all, but at that point, I was like, okay, this might not be so bad. You know what I mean? This might not be so bad. And I get out of rehab and I go through the IOP thing. And I finally tell Drew, I'm like, hey, do you remember who I am? And he's like, yeah, I know who you are. I'm like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? I cussed you out. But that guy is now one of my biggest inspirations in recovery. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was going to be a really bad situation. But, like, I text him all the time and I'm like, hey, I need you to be mean to me. You know what I mean? Like, I texted him before this and I was like, yo, I'm nervous. And he was like, suck it the fuck up. Do you want to help people or not? And I was like, okay, thanks. You know what I mean? Like, he motivates me to be better. And he's just been a big inspiration in my life. And I'm super grateful that our paths crossed. You know what I mean? I don't know where to go now. Where should I go?
I'm sorry, guys. Everything that could go wrong tonight has gone wrong, and
I've had lots of people text me and just fucking tell me my internet connection. So I guess I'm pixelated. I guess it's all bad tonight.
Yeah, you're a little pixelated, and you also keep kind of freezing. I don't know if anybody else.
I just texted my roommate. I do, evidently. Yeah.
Do we get to know who he is?
Yeah, we just said it. His name's Drew.
Yes, Drew. It's Drew.
Laboon's farm.
Give his
bro.
last name.
Drew Laboon.
Drew Laboon.
Oh my God, I'm down to 9%, y'all. My laptop screwed up. I'm down to 9% on the phone.
Nemo, you should have been more prepared, brother.
I got so much going on. I was.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We're still. It's been a good episode,
we're still here.
man.
We're
It's
still here.
fine.
Hey, if my phone dies, y'all know what happened. All right, so.
Yeah, man. Oh, so I got some more comments from Kathy. She said Drew gives the best aggressive pep talks. That's
Kathy
fair.
Facts. He does.
Yes.
Which is what I need a lot. I don't do well with like the soft, like the person that I picked to help me through the first of my sobriety. I had to pick that person because they were so aggressive and wouldn't like let me walk all over them. So I appreciate aggressive people.
So I do want to ask. So you said heroin wasn't your drug of choice, right?
No.
Mainly dope, mainly meth and alcohol, right?
Meth and
Did
alcohol,
you
yeah, but I mean, I would do whatever you put on the table. You know what I mean?
did you
I wouldn't pick me.
experience any kind of physical withdrawal when you went into treatment?
Okay, so I mean, other than sleeping, as far as coming off meth, like I just could not keep my eyes awake open. You know what I mean? I could not stay awake for more than 45 minutes when I first checked into rehab.
Right.
But that's the only physical effect I really had. I kind of like had these. I call them jolties, like where I would just be
I know
sitting
what
there
you're
and I feel
talking
like my
about.
body was just kind of like jolting, but it wasn't outward. You know what I'm talking about? It
Yeah,
just
I know exactly
felt
what you're
like
talking about.
it was the worst feeling in the world. And I was just jittery and I was angry and I was just beside myself. I wanted to crawl out of my skin, but that was it. It wasn't like there was no pain or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
The physical effect that I really felt that I had no idea was even a thing was when the meth finally wore out of my system. The fact that I had been drinking so much alcohol, I'd never had alcohol withdrawals before until that moment. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize that I was laying in my bed and I was like, man, my body hurts. And I was throwing up and I couldn't figure out what that was until the nurse was like, you drink a bottle of vodka a day. That's what that is. But I didn't know, you know what I mean? I had never gone without a vodka. I'd never gone without meth, and I definitely hadn't gone without putting them together. So I didn't know what was what. You know what I mean? I just
And
thought I was
I'm
sick.
not trying to give your age away, but how old were you when you finally decided to get clean? You know, you don't have to answer that, but
I was 38. I was 38 when I got clean.
38. Now, see, so I was 32, and when I got clean at 32, I thought that was so old. Like, what was you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought like
Yeah,
life done already passed me by, and I don't,
yeah.
what's the
I
point?
mean, kind of. I kind of felt like that. Here's how one of my things about getting sober was that like I was scared that if I got sober, there wasn't anything that was going to make me cool anymore. Like I was cool because I did drugs, and I was cool because I drank a lot of vodka, and I was
Right,
cool because I could
right.
like hang with all these people. What's going to make me cool if I take that out of my life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was my biggest thing. I didn't even notice how old I was until recently. You know what I mean?
I get that.
Everything
Because I
starts to
still
hurt
kind of feel
now.
like I'm in my 20s. You know what I mean? I started doing drugs. Yeah, that's it. But I started doing drugs when I was in my 20s. So like I still kind of am like set in that mind that it's kind of where I
Yeah, they
stopped.
say you stopped developing at the age you started using drugs. So
Yeah. So
So
I'm still
that's
I'm still 22. You know what I mean?
straight up. That's how I argue it too. So like I started using heavy drugs around 17, and then I quit at 32, 38 now. So I'm like 24, you know what I'm saying? So it's
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah,
It's fine. We got to live forever,
Oh,
you know?
it is cool. I mean, although we lived a horrible life before, it's crazy. Like you do get to live two different lives, and you get
I
to,
was going to say the same thing. Yeah. I feel like I'm like
you
two
know,
different people. Like,
and it's crazy because like, I believe in God, man, and my one of my main reasons I believe in God is because I've seen that other side. I've
yeah.
lived through that other side, and man, you can't see nobody can convince me that he's not real. It's just it
Nope.
is what it is. Um,
I agree. The things that I have lived through, the things that I have seen, the amount of times that I should be dead, just
mhm.
but I'm not, and I'm still trying to figure out why I'm not, but I'm not. I'm still here, and I have to. The only account that I can give is God. You know what I mean? And that my higher power. And it took me a long time to figure out what that even meant. You know what I mean? Because I was raised in a church, and I was raised to believe in a certain way, but then none of that made sense to me. You know what I mean? Like there were so many questions that were unanswered with that. And so getting sober, hang on, I believe that when you do drugs and you drink, that it opens doors to other things it's spiritually
You can
speaking.
say it, demonic. Yeah.
Yeah, it opens doors to other realms that like we can't, you know what I mean? And I didn't ever realize that until I finally got sober, and I had been sober for almost 2 years before I finally was like, let me give this God thing a try. You know what I mean? Because I was still kind of angry and I was still kind of like uncomfortable in my skin and like I was better, but I wasn't better. You know what I mean? So I was like, let me try talking to this dude. You know what I mean? Let me try to see how that
So
goes.
I guess you experienced moments that you were like sitting there and all of a sudden you just like kind of catch yourself thinking about God. That's what happened to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be like, never really thought about him. Then all of a sudden he's all in my head and I can't stop thinking about him.
Yeah, all the time. All the time it happens. And I'm
Am
like,
I the only one that hears his? Does his audio sound
cutting out.
funny? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounded
kinda
weird as
crackly.
fuck.
Sorry, I
Chris,
thought
say
I was going.
No, I heard it too. I thought it was maybe my internet connection because that's been the cadence
Is
of
it
the
better?
whole fucking thing. Nope,
No,
not
Nope,
at all.
not
crackly.
better at all.
It sounded like a remix. What the fuck?
Hello.
No, I think it's all bad. It's fine though. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
fucking
so
shit.
that's why they called alcohol spirits back in the day, because it awakens bad spirits.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
read
I
that.
agree with that, man. So like I spent lots of days up and lots of psychedelics and stuff like that. And you're right, it opens blinders to shit that most humans aren't supposed to see. And that's been my experience. I've seen demons, so it's hard for me to argue that there's not two sides of that coin.
Right. Right.
So,
And like I had a hard time like grasping the whole God thing, but I couldn't deny what I had seen as far as the
yeah.
dark part of it goes. And so if I believed in that and I believed what I saw and I believed what I felt and I have to believe in the light part of it too, right? So like I thought, let's give this a try. I've seen this. I've seen horrible, horrible things. You know what I mean? So let's try to see what we can find on this side. And for the last year, like that has been like I worked a program and that saved my life. And I will forever be thankful for that program and I will forever credit that program. But that program also brought me to be open-minded to the possibility of God. And so for the last year I've been open and I've been exploring and like getting closer and being in contact with my higher power, which is God, which is my understanding of God. It's not like this big vengeful guy in the sky that I was raised to believe in. It's, it's mercy and it's grace and it's like has completely changed my life. And I've always been like a really hard, angry girl. I've been through some shit. I've seen a lot of shit and all of those things kind of tend to harden you towards the world and towards people. But ever since I kind of like was open to the idea of a higher power, something in me has just gotten softer. You know what I mean? Like I'm more open to like talking to
It's humbled
people
you.
and like understanding people. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I heard some,
Jennifer Eaton says she's got 5 months clean from alcohol.
yeah,
Congratulations,
that's
Jennifer.
fucking awesome, dude.
Yay.
We got another one right here. 6 months falls on my birthday. No alcohol.
Same one.
Same girl.
Same
Yeah.
person.
Congratulations,
yeah.
Jennifer.
Yeah, so I heard this said the other night too that my definition of God growing up was a guy sitting on a cloud with a chalkboard marking off all the times that I was fucking up and I'm going to hell anyways. And yeah, like I said, because the program I work, I was able to kind of discover that's not the case. So sorry, I
Right.
didn't mean to interrupt you,
Right.
Nemo.
No, you're good. You're good. I wanted to ask, like, so I know we got, for the women listening out there that are still struggling, a lot of women that message me that are still in their addiction, a lot of the reasons they won't um, get help is because a lot of them are single and they got kids at home and they got to keep up with everything. What advice would you give to these women who don't have nowhere to send their kids, and they want to get clean but they can't leave their job, they have nowhere to send their kids and they're just still struggling? I got one woman that says she waits till her kids go to sleep and then she drinks herself, to a blackout, and she does this repeatedly. And she's tired of it, but she just can't stop. And she also can't get help, she thinks.
She thinks you have to, here's the thing. I thought that too, but you have to kind of swallow your pride and like figure out there are I'm trying to use the right word. There are programs that can help you. There are groups of women. If so they could reach out to me, I can help. There are groups of women just like that who think that they have nowhere to turn, who are very willing to help. Like there's also rehabs that like accept women with children. There are options. There's the community-based programs, like the program that the company I work with, a nonprofit that I work for, will help help you get into all of that. If you just reach out, you have to like, I know that it's super scary as a woman who has kids and you think that they're going to take my kids. I can't do this. They're going to take my kids. Eventually they're probably going to take your kids anyway. So it's probably just best to like do it now. Like swallow your pride, swallow your fear, which I have a huge problem doing. I don't like to swallow my fear, but, and reach out to people, find it, like do a little bit of research there. It's not that hard. Google search, it's easy to find. And
GTS,
I'm always
man.
open.
For sure, for sure. God, there
So
was something else. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask anybody else have any questions? I was gonna ask you. So what's next? That's your question for the week. And have you thought of a question yet,
next?
either? Yeah, what's next?
I haven't.
mean,
let me see.
You kind of broke it down a little bit, like what your plans is academically and stuff like that. But as far as what's next, it's open ended.
So what's next for me? I just want to learn the most I can learn about myself. You know what I mean? Whatever that means, however far that takes me. I just want to be. I want to be the best example I can. I'm raising 3 little girls. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to figure out how to be the best example of a strong woman to them. And so whatever that means going to school and being dedicated to that. That means figuring out the path that I want, which is mental health and substance abuse recovery. Like that's where I want to be at. That's the path that I clearly am supposed to go down. I've never been more clear about something in my life than that path that I'm supposed to go down. And it's super hard, but like, what's next is just putting my foot next and taking the next right step and just keep doing the next right thing. And I don't know what that looks like exactly, but I know that I'm going to do this next semester of school. I know that I'm going to go to work tomorrow. I know that I'm not going to drink. You know what I mean? I know that I'm trying to raise my babies to be really cool.
I got a question. Okay. What about, is there a lucky someone that, are you dating?
Awkward.
No, I'm not dating.
Would you recommend, so for women who are early in recovery, I know you got 3 years. What would you say if they're early in recovery? What kind of advice would you give them about dating?
Don't do it. Don't do it. First of all, like
Are you speaking from experience?
I'm speaking from experience.
Okay.
I mean, okay, so like they tell you that when you first get into recovery, they're like, don't date for the first year. And I was like, you know what I mean? Watch this.
Yeah,
I'll be fine. I'm different.
That's not in the big
I'm
book.
built different. I'm built different. I can do what I want. You know what I mean? And the fact of it is this. You can date if you want to, if that's what you think is best for you, which it's not.
It
but
sometimes works, but it very, very,
very rarely. It's very rare. And
I've tested that
the thing
theory.
about it is that you don't know who you are in the first. I still don't know who I am. I'm 3 years in, and I'm still like,
facts.
oh, I didn't know that about myself. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know who you are, and you're gonna like end up. You need to figure out how to set boundaries and how to be a person on your own, especially for women, because women follow men's using patterns, right? And so if you get into recovery and then you find this guy that you think is so dreamy and he's like not super strong in recovery, you're going to follow him. You're going to do whatever it is that he wants you to do, because why not? You don't have anything else at that point. So it's my suggestion is to just keep your blinders on and like focus on what you actually need to do. Like you need to get sober. You need to figure out who you are before you
need to become whole.
You need to become, whole on your own before you can ever be like whole with somebody else. Like you can't, just don't do it. Just don't date.
And a lot of times, I would say all of us come into it, but I'm probably wrong, but with codependency issues. I mean, we're very codependent. And we jump into this relationship and we're both sober, and then what we find out is that we haven't dealt with those codependency issues, and then
No,
man, I've seen it
no,
countless times, the
yeah,
relapses because of that reason.
yeah. So with my kid's dad, we were together. We've been together since 2007, right? And we were together until he went to prison. That was like a whole that whole thing imploded. It was terrible. It was at the very end. It was terrible. But what what happened was you know how they say it's God doing what for yourself or God doing for you what you can't do for yourself. I would have never left that situation had the things not happened the way they happened. You know what I mean? And I needed to leave that situation because I didn't know who I was. I was so codependent on that person that I would have followed him into the gates of hell because I didn't know any better and I was so in love. You know what I mean? And so over the last 5 years, I went through I had to do I had to get clean on my own. I had to get my kids back on my own. I had to figure out, I've figured out who I am on my own. I was never independent. I depended on him my entire adult life. You know what I mean? I finally have like, this is like basic human stuff, but like, I just learned I finally know how to pay bills and I know how to like, I get up and I go to work every day and I buy my kids clothes and shoes and food. And like, I know that those are all very basic human things that people do every day. But for me, I'm like a baby. I'm like a toddler still trying to learn how to walk as far as being an adult goes. I have no idea how to do any of this stuff. And I
Yeah,
needed
those
to
are
do
huge
that.
deals.
And I needed to be by myself to figure out how to do all those things by myself. And I know that I'm stronger than I ever thought that I could be on my own. And I love that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't want somebody eventually. Yeah, that'd be great. You know what I mean? But my focus isn't that. I have 3 very young daughters to raise and I have goals and dreams and aspirations and I don't want anybody else to take my independence from me anymore. Like I kind of like who I am now and it's okay. If somebody wants to come into my life eventually and like hang out, cool, but like it's not even a focus on my part right now to date.
Well, I've seen you from the time you very first came in, and because I know we both used to go to the same clubhouse, and I can see a major growth in you, and
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you for real.
Thank,
Like
thank
I
you.
can see that for sure.
Thank you.
But I'm always excited when we get women on here because of the amount of women. Like I get messages from men and women that are struggling, but the men, it seems like, who message me aren't afraid to tell other people. It seems like all the women that message me, they don't want anyone to know that they're struggling. It's like,
The stigma against women, you can't because we're not supposed, that's not supposed to be what we do. You know what I mean? We're supposed to hold it together for our families, for our kids, we're supposed to like maintain an image. And so to be like, hey, I need help, I've got this fucking problem. It's not,
yeah.
it doesn't seem like it's an option. You know what I mean?
And
Especially if you have kids.
you can't do this alone though. Nobody can do this
Right.
alone.
You
We're
can't do it alone.
nope.
Mm-mm. You cannot.
I
Absolutely. You have
actually
to
have a question.
find like as far as for women, I'm sorry, let me finish this. For women, you have to
Go ahead.
find a very strong group of women that have the same values and ideas and are on the same path as you to be able to make this work for you. Like
For
you
sure.
can't follow the men. You have to find, like, I found a group of women that like we support each other and we are there for each other every day. We are in a group chat every single day. Like you know what I mean? You have to find that. You have to find that as far as women go, because you just have to have that. You have to have the friends, the
For
circle.
sure. For sure.
So, have you thought about what your question's going to be for the next guest?
I don't know.
It could be anything. It could be sports.
Do I look like a sports girl, Nemo?
Go sports ball.
How about is it addiction and a disease? Go ahead and ask the next person that. See what they say.
Oh, we went controversial now. Oh man.
That's good. Okay, so we're going to go and answer this too, because I think we should start doing that. Chris, is addiction a disease?
Can I go first, please?
Please.
You can go first. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say it like this, and I'm probably gonna hurt some feelings, but
Fuck
addiction
yeah.
Do
is
it.
a addiction to me is a disease because sin is a disease, and I believe they both coincide. I mean, that's just me. I think it is definitely a disease. Um, go ahead, though,
Go ahead, Chris.
Chris.
Yes, it is. If you have to, like, go to a hospital for something, to me, like, it can be a disease, an infection, it's something wrong with your body. So to me, it absolutely is a disease.
I think
Somebody
it's
can answer that.
spiritual. It's a spiritual disease. That's what I think.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that is a spiritual disease. I struggle back and forth with this whole thing a lot because like it's a disease. It's progressive, right? Like if I were to go decide to get a bottle of alcohol right now, the next move is a needle in my arm, and I know that. So it progresses. It's a very progressive disease. I do think that here's what people are going to get their panties in a wad. I do think that you can be recovered. I do think that you can, like, at some point maybe stop saying that you suffer from this disease and that you have been recovered from that disease. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. Okay, let me say this since we're on some touchy subjects. What's your opinion on identify? Identity. So if I claim to be something, that's what I am. Okay, if I claim to be recovered, that's what I am. Or if I, what is your opinion on people saying they're an alcoholic for the rest of their life? Like,
So
even
I've
though,
just started getting into this in my own brain. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, I don't really want to say that anymore. Like I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic.
you don't want to
those are facts. Like,
identify as
but
that
I don't
anymore.
want to identify. I haven't touched a drop of alcohol. I haven't touched a bag of dope. I haven't put a needle in my arm. I haven't put a pipe to my lips in almost 3 years. You know what I mean? So for me to like stand up and be like, I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic, it doesn't sit right with me anymore. Although I know that it can be a slippery slope, and I know that I still have to like remember that you do have this problem. You know what I mean? It's you
Yeah.
can't be like everybody else and go have a glass of wine after work with your coworkers. I can't do that. And I have to remember that I can't do that. So like I struggle with it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, but I haven't touched that shit in forever. So it it's hard for
Yeah.
me sometimes.
You guys want to know my opinion on that?
Go ahead.
Let's hear
Let's
it.
hear it.
All right, so check it out. According to the Center for Disease, it was alcoholism was classified as a disease in 1956 and included addiction in 1987. They passed a law in 2008 called parity law, or 2007, something like that. Only reason I'm familiar with this, I'm having to study it at work, but that you're going to treat addiction or alcoholism just as a disease like cancer or something like that. And that's one of the fights we have with some of the insurance companies is saying that so somebody has cancer, they go into remission a month ago. Is the insurance company going to take back the benefits because they come out of remission and not pay for your treatment? And that's
Right.
it's part of the thing. I fully believe it's a disease, and I just it 100% a disease. You can't change my mind on that. I with Megan on this though. I feel like you can be recovered from it, but it can be a remission the rest of your life. But it's not something like I know I couldn't go out and safely drink, or just we're gonna get high on meth one time and be fine. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So
It's like this. The reason why I was, and I'm not going into the disease part, but I'm talking about the identity part of it. It's like if I smoke, because I used to smoke cigarettes, and I quit in 2019. I'm not. If you ask me if I smoke cigarettes, I'm gonna say no. I'm a non-smoker. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say, hey, yes, I'm a smoker. I'm not gonna. I no longer identify with that. I no longer. You know what I'm saying? But I do respect how strong it is, and I know that even with cigarettes, if I was to pick one up and take a hit, I'm probably gonna go buy a pack. And it's the same thing with drinking or drugs. If I know if I just pick it up one time, I'm off to the races. So I do know that it's not like I ever think in my head the idea that can ever take a drink or a hit again has been smashed. I do know that. But I just don't, I do have, like Megan was saying, I do have a problem with identifying as that. It just, man, I do, out of respect for, you know, the groups, I will say it when I'm in a meeting, but I don't know, man. I want more. I want freedom. I want more out of life, man. I do. I want more out of life than just to identify as that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop helping people though. You know what I'm saying? Like, and introduce them to the rooms that saved my life. But I don't know. That's another subject. That's another episode. Whatever.
Yeah, I think we should definitely go on live sometime and just talk about that.
Oh,
Just
we
kind of
should.
like
Hey, I've been
with the
wanting to hit some,
Suboxone.
bro. I'm all about talking about touchy subjects.
You
It's
guys want to do that?
too.
Sober. It's Suboxone sober. How about we can do an episode of that shit? You know,
Well, we
that'll
could do it
really
with
hurt some
methadone,
feelings.
Suboxone. Yeah, dude, I say we
The
go
California,
like,
California sober.
yeah,
That'll
that's
really
another
hurt
one.
some feelings. Yeah, it's smoking marijuana
Look,
sober.
if y'all do that, I want to be on that one, please.
We can do that. I was thinking we should go live like Thursday or Friday or something like that. Just kind of a warm up episode for Sunday. Have our guest and just do that. I'm totally down for that. I think that would be great subject matter. Suboxone, methadone, marijuana can you identify as an addict / alcoholic for the rest of your life?
Is
No,
getting high
alcoholic
sober?
beers.
That's basically the question. Is getting high sober?
Mhm.
I couldn't agree more. Megan, it's been awesome. Like I said, we got sober right around the same time. It was cool. You used to be angry as fuck. I do remember that. You weren't as bad, I think, when I got there, but it was cool. So it'll be good.
Yeah,
And we got
I was-
Sarah saying she wants to listen in on those. So let's plan on doing that, guys. I think that would be great for sure.
That's my
And
aunt.
I wanna-
Hi, Auntie Sarah.
I want to apologize about being pissed off in the beginning of this because my technology, my illiteracy to technology, and it really, I suck with technology for real. I'm like the most illiterate man. Anyway,
All that jail time.
I guess so.
But
Golly.
All right,
Golly.
Megan, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And like
hey,
I said,
man, it was so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to have you on again for sure. We're gonna start.
Definitely.
We got to start soon, like rescheduling people because we've been promising that. Well, this is 21 episodes. However many? That's almost half. That's half a year almost. I'm not mathing right now. So 5 more episodes we'll be doing half a block around the block for half a year. So, damn guys,
Nice.
getting up close. We'll have to look at the original date. and
That's
figure out what-
crazy.
That's
crazy.
good, man. That's
And
really
we
good
skipped a
shit.
couple of weeks too because of holidays. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Father's Day, and there was one other one we skipped. I don't
Mother's
remember what it
Day.
was. Mother's Day.
Oh, and
yeah.
the holiday, the other holiday, you know,
Chris, we don't understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
bro.
the holiday
Very
have
crafty.
disappeared.
No, he's
Don't
speaking in
get
Braille,
louder.
bro. It's like drinking TV static, man, over there. What the fuck?
We love you, dog. We love you, bro.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We're about to end it. I'm going to do the funky theme song out. And thank you again, Megan. Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I got $25 for this walk around sit down chair.
Productions.
Been around the block. Been around the block.
Blah, blah, blah.
What is going on, bro?